IPMNation.com.
Live from the Outpost Studios in Columbus, Ohio, you're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. Brought to you by IPMNation.com. Get ready for the gong heard round the world.
10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Good evening and welcome to the, what is this? I think it's like 355th episode of All Natural Being, the number one show broadcast here on IPMNation.com. We're very excited tonight because, as you know, the last couple of days we've been trying some different technologies, some different things. And this evening will be the first time that we've tried something really brand new. So thank you, as always, for bearing with us. Let me go and hit this. Who's ever tapping, playing a drum roll, I'll kill that mic real quick. But thank you for joining us. As I said, the number one rated show here on IPMNation.com. And the gong heard round the world. A little bit of catching up to do. Tomorrow morning is the first morning that I head in to the MRI. So tomorrow's show is a little bit up in the air, to be honest with you. Waiting to see how what the doctors are able to do to stop the spinal fluid leak. So thank you for everyone that's reached out to me all day long, all the different people wondering what's going on. That's a little bit of what we've been up to. You'd figure after all these different brain surgeries, they could figure out a way, right? A little bit of spackle, maybe some Flex Seal, some dirt. We'd find something that they could pack in the wound to keep me from donating spinal fluid like it's going out of style, but they can't. So what are you going to do, right? Into every life, a little spinal fluid must drip, I guess. Rain must fall, however it goes. But what I wanted to focus on this evening, as you know, it's Lee Words Wednesdays. So we talk, and people have said to me, well, what about copy? Right? I don't necessarily, why do I need to learn about writing copy? Well, it's not just copy if you're doing a sales letter. It's not just copy if you're doing any of these other things. It's designed to teach you in terms of what you write, how to be empathetic with what the hearer, without the reader, with the listener is going to listen to. So that's why I'm fired up, and I thank everyone that's joined us here in the thread and said, oh, wow, that'd be great to have someone that can talk about doing those things, right? Because we all want to communicate our heart's highest priority, top of the list. We all want to figure out how to communicate our primal scream. Not leave it on the back burner, leave it in the junk drawer, the dustbin. We want to be able to communicate our primal scream right front and center on our lips. So that's why I think Lee Words Wednesdays has become so popular. It's because people go, no, I get that. I want to see what that's all about. David Ray Bowman says duct tape. Thank you, sir, very much. Hop on over here into the feed. Let me do this. Duct tape. Thank you, David Ray, very much. John, good evening. Hello. We meet again. Yes, sir. In fact, we do. Thank you for everything. Please tell your mom. Everyone said hello. Janelle, good evening. Hope everything's going well. How's the competition going? Do you hear anything more about your photographs, your artwork? Let us know how that's going. David Ray, again, thank you. Duct tape. I'm with you. Candace, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Jamie, That's a surprise. I didn't think Jamie was going to be joining us this evening. I thought she was off a little later in the week. But, Jamie, thank you. I got a really cool package. Haven't opened it yet, as I promised. I haven't opened it yet, but I got a really cool package. And maybe Sunday night, if we can hang together, we'll open it up and we'll go from there. But thank you all for joining us again here at All Natural Being. And what I want to do, Alice, good evening. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk to a couple really talented young men this evening, right? People that are just like at the cutting edge. Because here's my thought. We have a new 800 number I should tell you about, right? All these years, I've been talking about mind-ups, just like push-ups or sit-ups or pull-ups, those kinds of things. But mind-ups, exercises that we can do for our minds, right? So that you go, okay, well, how will I build the temperament I need for the future? How can I build my resilience? How can I build the ability to handle, right, whatever fate does in an attempt to chop block us? As Dana said last night here in the thread, you just got to use a throat punch, right? But if you're not going to use a throat punch, how can you build that sense of resilience? And I call them mind-ups. Just like push-ups or sit-ups or pull-ups. Well, we have a new 800 number now for people that may be interested in it. It's 833-MIND-UPS, MINDUPS, 833-646-3877. And you should know I have this crafty little card. In case anyone wants to know, they go, what is that number again? 833-646-3877, 833-MIND-UPS. We're going to open the phones here at the bottom of the hour and take some calls from our guests this evening. But here's what I'd like to do. Let's just jump right into it. Normally wait a few more minutes, but I'm so tickled, and I want to make sure that we have everything going much the way we had hoped it would this evening with our guests. So let me see. I know Wayne's standing by. Jamie, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I know Wayne's standing by, so let's do this. I can see him moving, so let me go over here because I think he was busy tapping on his desk a little while ago. He may not have known. And I thought, well, just in case, Lee never says anything off color, right? Lee is impeccable in terms of what he writes and what he speaks. But just ask Al Gore. Every mic is an open mic, right? Just ask President Obama. Every mic is an open mic. So I figured, let me go ahead and kill the mics because I don't want him going, yeah, that Brian's a dork. Did you ever realize that? Because then I'd feel all self-conscious. I'd be worried about it and everything else, throughout the show. So I'll go ahead and cue it. Now watch this. Lee's going, yeah, okay, I get it. So Brian's going to try this new thing. So here's what we're going to do. We go like this. We send it. And then good evening, Lee. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm fantastic. How about yourself?
Oh, you know what I could do? Now, okay, user error. What do you want? I got a brain tumor. What do you want from me? Hold on a second, Lee. Don't go anywhere. If you have something to say, I want to hear it. So then I got to come over here, carry the 6, plug this in. Hopefully, everyone. Open it, Brian. I would love to, Candace. I left it upstairs. All right, Lee, are you with me?
I am.
Oh. Ay, what a day. Thank you for sticking with us. It's like I had my fingers crossed. And then when I hit to bring you up, and I'm like, I can't hear anything. I'm going, needle knits. You got to plug in the headphones for the rendezvous. But I promise you, we're busy working it out so that one set of headphones, make it idiot-proof, which means I can do it. Right, Lee? You just be like, oh, yeah, if it's idiot-proof, then Brian can hand it. And poor, our guest tonight, Lee, has got to be like, Lee, what did you do? This guy's insane. I can't believe you invited me on. I could have found other things to do.
Yes.
I roped you into it. How are you, Lee? Nice to see you, brother.
Oh, I'm fantastic. How about yourself?
I've had better days, weeks, but you know what I mean. Everything for a reason, and I'm going to make it work no matter what. As we talk about all the time here in the show, you should. I don't know if you're watching the feed, Lee, but Candace says, "Hey, Lee."
Hey, Candace, how's it going?
Say, there you go. Hey, Candace, Lee says hello back. All right, so I've been doing this battle, but it's not unlike any battle any of us have. And I was really moved by our guest's story, his early in life, about some of the challenges he was up against. So I'm like thrilled to hop into that and to see what's going on. But as far as Lee Words Wednesdays go, Lee, give us an idea. What would you like to talk about this evening?
Wow. As I always say, everybody has a story, and I believe that story has the ability to profoundly affect others in a way that nobody else's story can. And that's why I'm so excited about bringing on our guest this evening, is that he helps bring those stories to life just like I do, but in a visual sense. Wow. So that's what makes him so fantastic to talk to, because he has such genius and such insight about what goes into moving people from a visceral and a visual level. And so I'm just really super excited to see what he has to say.
And you should know that over here in the feed, Candace, what is wrong with me? I really should drink before I do these shows. I really think I should. Candace says, glad to see you, Lee. Nice to see your face. Good evening to Henry.
Thank you, Ken. Thank you.
Thank you, Candace. All right, so let's jump right to it. And by that, I have all these different levers and different things to hit, so hold on. So we go over here. And I'm going to introduce, let me just say, Henry, before I introduce you, thank you. Right? This is just like an ox cart. Oh, my good Lord. What is wrong with me? This is just like an ox cart. This go, oh, yeah, it's careening down the road. What could be wrong with that? But here's what we're going to do. We're going to introduce Henry Kaminsky Jr. You just heard he's a brilliant guy. Henry, the brand doctor, which, can I tell you the truth? When I heard the brand doctor, I was like, remember in Seinfeld when he would look and go, Newman? When I heard the brand doctor, I was going, that's brilliant. Why didn't I think of that? Because I'm an idiot. The guy that calls himself the brand doctor, that's the brains that comes up with that tagline. That's brilliant. Good evening, Henry. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having Bri. I love it. I love it. I'm over here in the background pissing my pants going, look at these two.
I know. Yeah. Well, look at the three of us. You got to love Lee. He put up the little thing today of the 3 eggshells. Right? So, and my first inclination was, 2 eggshells and an eggshell with a snorkel built in. Right? That brain shunt. Where are you going with that is all I'm saying, Henry.
I love it.
Here's what I wanted to be able to talk to about tonight. I have this belief that our future, when everyone talks about AI, artificial intelligence, Henry, and I can remember years ago going to the airport and the young lady at the ticket counter would say, oh, sir, could you use the kiosk? No, I don't think I will. I'd like to deal with a real human being. And she goes, oh, we have computers now, artificial intelligence. And I go, oh, well, that's nice to know. And she said, so we'd prefer you use the computers. And I go, the moment they perfect these computers, no sick pay, no calling in late, none of these things. Moment they perfect it, you're going to be working at a Taco Bell in the Southwest, right? And not a good Taco Bell in the Southwest. So what I'm so excited about in talking to you this evening and talking to Lee is how coaches are preparing people to face that future. Yeah. You can't pick up a newspaper article, Henry, without someone saying, oh, in 2025, 95% of all jobs will be done by machines. Well, we need coaches. We need them now, right, to prepare. All right, you're the expert. I'll just ramble on, but it's an honor to have you for that reason, because I think we can do some good when it comes to preparing people for an uncertain future. What say you, sir?
Absolutely. I think if we're not preparing ourselves for this big shift in entrepreneurship, in business in the next 3 to 5 years, and we're in trouble. So, that's why I've tended to shift my focus on how I serve my audience and the value that I bring to my audience very quickly and very nimbly to change. Because I remember I told Lee this story not too long ago, back in 2013 when Fiverr came out. I had a thriving graphic design business, and then Fiverr came out, completely wiped me out. And then on top of that, Hurricane Sandy comes through my neighborhood and wipes out two of my biggest clients, and I couldn't get back on my feet. And I said, I need to level up the value that I deliver. Otherwise, I'm out of business. And so quickly shifted into strategy, into brand development, into ways that I can help my clients make money, because that's what they're in business for. Sure. And went deeper than just website design and print collateral design and brand identity design. I went into what moves people the most, and that's emotions, and that's helping them with bigger business problems. Because I always tell my clients, when you solve bigger problems, they'll cut bigger checks.
That's a good point. That's a good point. And if you're an everyday folks like us, I would also imagine, Henry, that when you solve bigger problems, clients cut bigger checks. But when you solve those bigger problems, you have a chance, as we say here all the time, to put your heart's highest priority top of the list.
Oh, hands down.
Okay, very cool. I would say to you that, and then Lee, if you would, when we talk about the things that keep us in check, we talk all the time about fate, how fate chop blocks us, how we're subject to those things that derail our destiny. I would imagine a really solid sense of self is tremendously important. How about for you? When you think of, in terms of being a copywriter, in terms of the things in the creativity that you do, I would imagine that a healthy sense of self is just the beginning of what it takes to be successful.
A healthy sense of self and a unhealthy, almost, sense of curiosity. I think the curiosity is really what drives me, because we don't even know that we haven't even begun to scratch the surface of human potential, what we are capable of. And it's just that fascination with that limitless ocean of potential that really gets me excited to do these sales copy letters and email sequences, video scripts, whatever it is that my clients need to be able to tap into that potential and to do something beyond a job, beyond just getting up and making dollars. They're doing something that's important in the world, something that's important to them, and something that's going to change the lives of others. And to me, if there isn't anything better you could possibly do.
And then, Lee, what I would say to that, and then maybe I'll have Henry respond if he would, is that when you channel what I call your all-natural being, when you're to the point when you say, Henry, I want to make a positive impact in the world, I'm hard-pressed to believe that a human being is born without the potential to make a huge impact in the world once we get out of our own way. All right? So do people come up to you, Henry, and go, you're the brand doctor, and they'll go, here, feel my pulse, right? Do they expect you to go, oh, I need a prescription? And do you say, just be yourself, right? It's already, when you say, and I love this, uniquedesigns.net, and your website is up now under your name. When we tell people, unleash your unique, that's a great idea for big business, but I imagine just getting through your day, that's a pretty cool idea. Unique designs, that is your life.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you right now, if you're not your authentic self, you're gonna lose. And to be quite frank and honest and transparent here, for the first maybe 27 years, maybe even 30 years of my life, I was not that authentic of a person. So I came from a family who I was raised by my father, and he worked for UPS. He was a shop steward for 33 years, and he worked 3 other jobs, odd jobs, and he did everything he possibly could. He did the best he could to raise his son on his own. And what happened was, it's not that we were poor, but we didn't have very nice things. I grew up in Long Branch, New Jersey, where, I was one of maybe 50 white kids in the whole high school. And the first apartment that we bought was right up the street from the projects. And, it was a very difficult transition for me. So what happened, fast forward, when I go into my entrepreneurial career and actually start making some serious money on my own, I let it get to me. And what happened was, how do I say this? You start to show off, you start to boast, you start to create attention for yourself that's not really necessary. And what happened was I thought I was doing the right thing by showing my family and showing my friends, look at me, I'm doing this on my own. Meanwhile, they're all talking behind my back going, this guy's a real douche. Sure. Who does he think he is now? And what happened was all this resentment started to build. And it wasn't until shortly after my wedding that, my family pretty much said, sayonara, dude, we're done with you. And to this day, a good handful of them still don't talk to me. And that was 7 years ago. And so what happened there was a huge, huge wake-up call for me. And so what I did was I invested in myself. I hired a coach. I hired a business coach. I hired a mindset coach. And I got rewired. I truly got rewired, and I started to look at life a lot differently, started to be a lot more grateful, started to look at things and appreciate things a lot more, started to be a lot more empathetic. So that was a learned skill for me. That didn't come easy as an only child and as a growing up with a single father. It was very, very tough for me. So, when I got through that, everything started to change a little bit. And then what really kind of exploded everything is when I had my son a year ago, my wife and I. After 2 rounds of IVF, it was very, very difficult to have a child. And so when we finally had him, your life changes, completely. Sure. And that was a huge transition for me. And to all those parents out there, you might relate to this, you might not, but the first year of fatherhood for me was very difficult. Sure. I had a hard time forgetting that I was responsible for another little human being now. Sure. And I had a family to provide for and serve. And so it took a while to get my priorities straight. And until I was able to do that, I fell financially short on a few things, which hurt. And It was devastating to my ego. It was devastating to my father, my family. And what I realized was you got to straighten up, or otherwise you're going to be left by yourself. And I think that was my biggest fear is spending 12 years building this business and 11 years with my wife and 7 years married and building this legacy, if you will, to have it all come crumbling down because of poor decision making and the inability to mature. And what I realized,
well, I would say though, Henry, if I could for just a second, 1, congratulations on the baby.
Thank you.
2, you were up against Superstorm Sandy. I remember I flew to New York, and I think I did Good Morning America and the early show, and they go, oh, this is going to be a big storm, right? So it was a big deal. So it's not just your sense of things that you did to possibly chop block, to use a term from here in the thread, Marcellus, not just what you did, but there are times where you could look back and say, fate conspired against you. You didn't lose your 2 biggest clients. You didn't say, oh, Hurricane Sandy, please come this way, right? You didn't stand up like a big target, like a ring girl in Vegas going, oh, please come ashore here. So there were some hurdles that weren't necessarily of your making, but you still, I love the term serve. When you said you got to figure out how you were going to serve, is that a part of how you bounce back?
Well, I don't believe in coincidences. I believe Lee entered my life for a reason. I believe you entered my life for a reason. There's no coincidence whatsoever in my life. Everything, and not to get super woo-woo on everybody, but I don't believe in coincidences. And so all of that happened for a reason. I was able to persevere and roll over it. It took a lot of help. It took a lot of strength. It took a lot of work, but I did it. And I don't think that I would be as valuable to my audience and to this world today had I not go through that. So I don't live it with regret. I don't feel sorry for myself. I don't feel like the life happens to me and you guys should all feel sorry for me. No, I don't complain. It's here's my story. I hope it inspires you. If I can freaking do it, so can you. So can you. So get out of your own way, like you mentioned before.
Let's say hello to some people here in the thread. Heather, thank you so very much for watching. Alice, thank you for joining. And she says, being grateful is number one. Rita, good evening. Hope everything's going well. John says, awesome stuff tonight. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, John, thank you, as always, for joining us. So, Lee, let's talk about that for a second. And watch this, because Lee's going, really? Can you at least can you make sure that the names line up right this time? Ta-da! See? I'm just not another pretty face. So talk to me a little bit about that. Henry says it's about service, right? He gets to the point where everything happens for, he believes, a reason, right? A reason he met you, the reason we get a chance to hang out this evening and distill some of his brilliance to other people, right? I've said before, you and I met because I thought cage-free copy was quite possibly the coolest thing I'd ever heard. So I got an email one day going, hey, do you want to join Alignable and hang out with some guy named Lee from Cage Free Copy? I go, I don't know about Lee, but I love that term, Cage Free Copy, right? So talk a little bit about that when Henry says everything happens for a reason. Be grateful. Figure out how you're going to serve others. And just, you can tell from Henry's passion, he never stops moving. You just go, bring it. I'm gonna defend my heart's highest priority, no matter what. What say you, Lee?
I say that you can use any situation that comes your way for good, for bad, or you can choose to do nothing with it. I mean, it's different words meaning the same thing. And so, I would say I agree with you that the good things that have happened in my life have fueled my ability to write copy and to create empathy in my copy. And some of the not so good things have also been instrumental in helping me dive so deeply into the perfect target. Okay, sorry, I used that word again. Your avatar.
Sure.
To dive so deeply into them that they feel like you know them better than they know themselves. And it is all the cumulative good and bad that fuels that for me,
right.
To know what loss feels like, to know what frustration feels like, to know what being an outsider feels like. I mean, these are things that are universal to virtually everybody at some point in their lives.
Sure.
And, being able to understand that is, I think, the first step to being able to create a real authentic connection, which is, I think, we're craving more and more as we're getting into this digital, virtual, disconnected society. We're more connected than ever technologically,
right?
But we're less connected than ever on a human, personal level.
Let me say hello quickly if I could. Oh, yes, please. Hold on one second. Let me say hello to Patricia. Thank you for joining us. And Henry, you should know my good friend Patricia, who lives in New Jersey, right across the way. And you should also know that Patricia and I talk all the time about being slightly different in terms of maybe political positions. But I say that Patricia is my friend, that you're welcome to call her a snowflake. But she goes from snowflake to avalanche, full on, knock trees down avalanche in like 3 seconds, Henry. So I got to make sure you and Patricia, if you get a chance, because she sits out and looks at the, Empire State Building right across from the river in New Jersey. Okay. So I think you two will dig each other. So I'm sorry to interrupt, but you were going to comment on what Lee had to say.
Well, yeah, Lee was. So I was doing some research recently on some Instagram ads and some Facebook ads. And one of the things that I realized, which I just, it's mind-boggling, the amount of negativity that I see in the comments of these Facebook ads, right? So I don't know if you guys know who Lewis Howes is. So I don't know the guy personally, but he's got a very popular and very popular podcast, and he's out there and he's doing his thing. He's in the network, like the Good Old Boys Network up there, and he was running a ad to help you grow your Instagram account or something like that. And you should have saw these people trashing him in the comments, right? And so I realized, so I jump in, right? Now, I don't know Lewis at all. And, we converse on Twitter a little bit here and there, but don't know him personally. But I reached out to the one person who was really going after him, and I said, why do you say such things about him? Like bringing up the whole curiosity thing with Lee. Like, I just want to know what made you feel that way. Because because I'm sure Lewis would love to know. Like, sure. And I wasn't mean or rude or anything like that, right? And then there was another guy on Instagram running ads talking about how he grew his 6-figure speaking business and he's doing this and that. And the audio in the ad was so bad. It was like that. That was the music in the background.
That's how my voice sounds in my own head, brother.
Right?
When I talk to myself.
And I'm not mocking the guy. I even forget the guy's name. But so I'm like, okay, you're promoting yourself as this speaking expert. Meanwhile, your audio is awful. And now here comes the comments. 91 comments just destroying this guy. And I'm just reading them going to myself, here's a real problem. So I feel terrible for people that are running Facebook ads against cold traffic and going about it the wrong way and getting the responses that they're getting like this because they're not branding themselves properly in the beginning of the game. And so how do we do that? How do we brand ourselves properly from the get-go so that we can alter that sort of response?
And do you suspect, Henry, let me just say, Jamie is over in the thread, some of the most devastating things in retrospect end up being the best thing that could have happened. I think we probably all agree with that. Patricia's calling herself a snowflake in the hood. I love that. That's Patricia, cannolis and all. Rita says, excellent point. Brother Wallman, good evening. Thank you for joining us. Shane, 2020, he's going to be president here in 2020, Henry, in case you don't know. But his wife says, don't even think about, I'm not cleaning the White House if you win. So I always like to put in a kind word for Shane because he could be our next president. Everyone is brave behind a keyboard. Yeah. Henry, how much of what you said, like, you feel bad for these people that aren't building their brand right straight from the get-go. But how about these trolls that or their heart's highest priority is so gone that the only energy they get. Yeah. I remember when we first started this show and someone said, hey, DBX 286, why don't you clean up your voice? That's all I'm saying. DBX 280 what? I have no clue, right? But so talk a little bit, if you would, Henry, about the number of people that are just laying in wait for you. Yeah. Remember back when Facebook first started, people go, oh, you spelled two, TWO, not 200. Yeah. Well, then talk to Zuckerberg. I can't help it that the damn spell check spelled two the wrong, right? But they're like pouncing. Ooh, ooh, we got a typo. We got a typo.
They can't wait.
Talk about that, Henry. I know. Yeah. What's going on with these people?
So here's what I say about that. So again, they're keyboard heroes, and if we did a deep dive on their background, would they be doing the stuff that we're doing or what these folks are doing out there? Probably not. All right. That's number one. Number two, I got trolled pretty bad at the end of last year. And it took a toll on me for a couple of months. And it was a pretty awful experience. But again, it happened for a reason. And I still take credit to this day. It wasn't 1,000% that person's fault. I didn't have my processes and systems in place. So I took responsibility for that. But the way that he came at me on social media and on the internet was just unbelievable. And what I realized was this, okay? In all of that trolling, Bri, there may lie a truth.
Sure.
When the guy rattled off that model number for a microphone, he was saying, your audio is bad. Why don't you make it better? So I look at it as all of that trolling. Now there's people that are just nasty and those people just get blocked. Like, I don't want that in my life. Right. But before you block them, here's my invite or suggestion for you. Just listen. Don't get defensive. Don't go after them. Don't try to blast them back. just listen to what they're saying, because there's gold in what they're saying. They're saying, I don't trust you. You seem like a hack. Go away. Right? So what is that lesson learned to Lewis? What is that lesson learned to that guy running Instagram ads? Maybe I got to go back to the drawing table and level myself up a little bit, and maybe talk about these objections, talk about these issues of trust in my copy, in my video, and get out there and just show who you really are. Because I read this today also on Instagram. The Instagram influencer bubble is going to bust soon, because here's what happens. There's these influencers out there that are renting the Range Rovers and the Lamborghinis, and they're making themselves look really, really cool. And then after they shoot the video, they jump in their Honda Civic and go back to their trailer home, or they go back to their mother's house.
Oh, Henry, you mean these guys with Lamborghinis in the garage with wall-to-wall bookshelves alongside pools and everything else? Are you here to tell me that's not real?
I love it. So just the point is just like it eventually will all catch up to you. So you might as well bring it real from the get-go. I mean, that is your best marketing. That is your best marketing.
And, it makes me think, Lee, when we talk about keeping it real, and you say, well, you've taught me the term, there's gold there. That's a gold nugget. I think what Henry's saying is there may be some truth, to different people. Over in the thread, Patricia says, hello, darling. I'm the snowflake who will work with Shane for president, even if he doesn't want it. Well, there you go. That's good. Rita, make it happen. I want to sleep in the Lincoln bedroom. I think Henry Lee and I will come to the White House and hang out. Maybe hit a bucket of balls on the front yard. Patricia says, in the long run, we are all here tonight because we know there is a better way than what has been happening outside of Unleash Your Legendary. Patricia, thank you very much. I super appreciate that. Shane says, and look at the person saying these words, responding to Henry. He's like, it could be that they're revealing something about themselves.
Oh, yeah, hands down.
Absolutely. And I think Lee would agree with that.
Absolutely.
Shane, of course they are. And then he said, oh, no, thanks for the support. Yeah, he's talking about running for president again. It's all about Shane. He's going to make a great 58th president, whatever the number is. Who knows? All right, so Lee, talk to me about gold nuggets, because I think Henry's on to something here. Those gold nuggets that if we just look at it and go, even something crappy can turn out to be great for us if we have Henry's mindset of going, let's just look at it without any preconceived notions. Maybe there's something there. What was it, Tolkien from The Hobbit that says, all that glitters is not gold? Right? Well, it's the inverse of that. What say you?
Well, when you take ego out of it, Henry's absolutely right. But the ego is obviously what gets in the way, and you throw up arms. It just, we're dragging out our clubs just like we did 6,000 years ago, and we're ready to beat somebody down when they criticize us because we let our ego get in the way. I mean, for a lot of us, that ego's masking that questioning of ourselves, because there's this part of us that I talk about scripts all the time. Sure. The endless script that runs in the back of your head saying that, I'm not worthy. I don't really know what I'm doing. Somehow somebody's going to figure out that I'm a fraud, that I don't really know what I'm talking about, that I'm not as smart as I think I am, that I'm not as experienced, and I'm not doing as good of a job, and so forth. And like all of this is going to come crashing down. Now, I don't, not everybody has. I think we all go through that a little bit at times. And that's where we put up that defense mechanism, that ego that keeps us from understanding this feedback, dissecting it, finding out if there's anything worthwhile, the gold, as Henry says, and integrate it into our lives to be a better version of ourselves and to set a better example for our clients, for our families, for our friends, for everyone around us.
And Lee, and then Henry, if you could come on us, I've perfected two things in life. Well, apparently, donating spinal fluid outside of my knowledge. I perfected that. I mean, no one can argue with that, right? And then the second thing I perfected, I go into every situation. I've said here a million times, You can't spell Brian without the I in idiot. So people say, oh, well, did you expect that outcome? Sure. Why not? Whatever happens, happens, right? I'm not giving up. I'm not going to be chop blocked. Ooh, I didn't see it coming, but I'm going to keep trying. What do you think, Henry?
Listen, there's only one way in my life, and it's forward. Like I don't look back and say I wish I could have done that or I wish I could have done that. One of my coaches this year said to me, "There's a reason why your windshield is bigger than your rear view mirror because you're not going that way."
Sure.
And I love that, and I'll never forget that. And it was just one of those things that I needed that outside perspective, and that's why I love coaching, and that's why I love hiring them, the right ones, obviously,
sure.
and getting that insight, because my wife always makes fun of me and yells at me like, I told you that 1,000 times. And then my mentor says it to me and I'm like, it sticks. Right. So it drives her absolutely nuts. But that's what I'm talking about when it comes to things are going to happen in life. It's not easy. Don't feel sorry for yourself because nobody really cares. And get out there and just do. One of the things that I was watching Extra today before the show, and they were doing a rapid fire question with Alex Rodriguez from the ex-Yankee, right? And they said, "What do you do when you face fear?" And he said, "When in doubt, I attack."
Ooh.
And I love that. And
that's a great one. It
wasn't just him, but I heard it and said in a different way. It was, when things get hot, run at it,
sure.
Run right at it. Because when you lose that fear, it's like you become unstoppable. I posted something on Instagram last week. It said something like, unless you plan on doing what I'm doing identically for the next 60 years, you're not my competition.
Right.
It's just,
right.
And people are so scarcity minded, like, oh, I need you to sign this NDA. And nobody gives a shit, dude. I'm sorry. I don't know if I can curse or not. Right?
I don't know. I think we can.
Nobody cares, bro, with your NDA. Like, knock it off. Everything's been done already. You're just trying to do it a little bit better. That's cool. Listen, if somebody snakes you, they snake you. Big deal. Like, get out there and just do the damn thing, right? How long have you been thinking about this that you had to have an NDA involved? Like,
Henry, I've said to people before that when they go, well, you got to watch for plagiarism. If you even know the word plagiarism, you just plagiarized, right? We're all standing on the shoulders of giants. Well, I have this new idea. Yeah, not really. Whoa, no. Oh, no, this is an idea. Yeah, no, not if you've reached my age and you go, you're like a combination of those things. Rita says, perhaps the trolls see things that we don't see, or their remarks may spark a gem of an idea. You just have to keep your ears open and listen to what they are saying. Patricia says, yes, Henry, woulda, coulda, shoulda are not real. Going forward is reality. Candace says, Henry, I love that. Rita says, even if you take baby steps, I think Rita's talking about if you take baby steps, to Henry's point, just keep moving. Just, right? When I say never be owned, don't be owned by your competition. Don't be owned by your fear. Don't be owned by your ego. Don't be owned by your in-laws. Don't be owned by the fact that your dog got up and took a dump in the front yard and you got to clean up before you get in your car to go to get your Starbucks, right? Just never be owned. And I think to your point, Henry, if you keep moving forward, as Marcia says, forward is the only way. And Henry, you should know quite a few people in the thread are joining us from Ecuador this evening. So when we talk about an international show, there you go. You're playing big in South America, brother. You and Lee tonight as well. Patricia says, if you have a word for it, then someone did it before you. I think that's what Henry is saying with your non-disclosure agreement. Oh, please, let's keep it between us, right? Okay. Candace says, now when I get my car, Henry, I always remember that. Thank you very much, Candace says.
Yeah.
And I realize now that you guys are probably reading the same thread, but I like to call out everyone's name. Let them know. All right, Henry. So, Lee, what are you thinking about that? When it comes to saying, always keep moving forward. Don't let fate. There you go. But you thought that transition wasn't going to be that smooth, huh? That's right. I might have the shakes from no spinal fluid, but I can work a keyboard like it's going out of style.
There you
So
go.
what do you think, Lee? Keep moving forward. Never let it get you.
Absolutely. I mean, what else are you going to do? I mean, it's the day you give up is the day that you not only let yourself down, you let down the people that you could be helping. And you're not creating,
point.
You're not creating your legacy. I mean, none of us are going to be around forever, and don't we all want something that's going to endure after we're gone? I mean, I know I do.
Sure.
Henry, I'm sure you do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that's that legacy. I mean, why aren't we doing that? I mean, and I think that's where we're going to see coaches come in more and more in the future as, we become more absorbed in this digital world and more systematized and more lulled into this false sense of everything being okay. Then we're going to see the resistance, and we're already starting to see it. People that are stepping out against mediocrity and creating good things, great things through the coaching they do. And, people like Henry. There are so many people out there that really are making a difference, and that's why I would really hate to see, going back to the trolls. I think sometimes that what if somebody who's on the verge of making a decision to become a coach and to help other people, and they happen across someone else's thread, someone else's Facebook ad with all of these vile, completely pointless troll comments, and decided, no, I don't want that. I don't want to call that attention to myself. And so they spend the rest of their lives not creating the brilliance that they should be creating.
And I'll tell you, Lee, I'm going to remember Henry's words from now on. If something like that happens, just bring it, brother. If you think, here's your trophy. You can take me home, put me on your mantle. I'm going to keep moving forward, right? Like Henry says, ooh, you get a pretty big, and there's even some shading across the top of your windshield. It's like 8 feet long. Your rear view mirror, you can slip it in a breast pocket.
Right.
So I'm going to keep up with that, Henry, and I thank you for that. You know what I mean? Because you just keep moving forward. You don't let fate. Why would you let fate throw your heart's highest priority on the dump, on the trash pile? You just keep moving towards it. I love what you said.
Yeah, you have to, because there's no other. Listen, I know we got 12 minutes left, and let me just throw this at you guys and to the audience. I think a lot of people take life way too serious. At the end of the day, guys, we got to remember something here. We can't take any of this shit with us. So, all right. So sooner than you think, we're going to be in the box and we're going to be in the ground or dust. Right. So while we're still here, like Lee was saying, why don't you take that energy and do something good with it? Because I look at life like a 2-minute span of time. If we are only on this planet for 2 minutes, so what are you going to do with those 2 minutes? That's what I want to know. See, the reason why I think like this is because my parents, it took them 16 years to conceive a child. My mom had so much problems getting pregnant, and medicine wasn't what it is today,
sure.
Right? So, when I heard my mother telling all of her girlfriends when I was 5 and 6 years old, this boy is my miracle baby. It took us 16 years to have him. Now here's me 6 years old thinking it takes 16 years to get pregnant. I thought that was true, right? And then what I realized was those two human beings were two persistent mofos. Had they not been that persistent and always looked forward and always looked optimistically and always just kept it moving, I would not be here today. And then fast forward 2 years into my life, I'm sitting in a crib, non-responsive, because I had some medical shit going down that nobody could figure it out. They rushed me to the hospital, get me back to life. But can you imagine trying to have a baby for 16 years and then after year 2, you go in and he's almost dead? Like that story has propelled my entire life. And so when I look at these people crying about this and that, you got to put it into perspective. You got to look at the big picture and say, is this going to be a big deal 5 years from now? Is this going to be a big deal 5 minutes from now?
Right. Henry, I have to tell you, when I read your story, to be honest with you, I think I read it and I think I watched a video of you talking about when your mom came in and found you unresponsive and all the rest of that. That had to just be horrible for her.
I mean, to this day, like, my father could not watch any shows on television that have to do with a child in distress.
Imagine.
Like Rescue 911, that was a big show back in the 80s and 90s, right? Anytime that there was an episode of a child in distress, he would turn it off. And I said, why? And you'll realize it when you get older, you know? And so I hear these stories, and like Lee said in the beginning of the show, you know, the stories that you hear in your life and that are created in your life are going to propel you, you know, and I wish everybody that is watching this and listening to this today that, listen, it's not if, it's when. And that's the mentality that you got to have to live life to the fullest.
And Lee, you should know, Patricia says here about what Henry just said, you have it, Henry, and you are right. Let my energy be my catalyst for the future and have a great time. Whatever your persistence is, keeps the world going. Don't sweat the small stuff. And caveat, Lee, she goes, it's all small stuff, right? So don't sweat any of it.
Very good. So true. So true. And Henry, I absolutely love what you're saying. You know, obviously, you know, and you know, Brian, that I'm kind of on the flip side of that. That, you know, I had to say goodbye to my daughter almost 6 years ago, just after her 10th birthday. But even then, I mean, talk about your life hitting a brick wall. I mean, that was just right there, Jeff. Right, you know, and that's it. But finding a reason to keep going after that convinced me of the near invincibility of the human spirit. I mean, I'm not going to say that people haven't been through. I'm sure people have been through way worse than that. I mean, I don't think we need to put that on a qualitative scale.
Right.
But, you know, for me to go through something like that and still come out for whatever reason, not intact, but still functioning, tells me that anybody can be able to use their story, to be able to use their past to fuel the future instead of being stuck in it.
Lee, when I from the very first time that you told me about that story, I have to let you know that my brother, I had a younger brother who lost a young daughter to SIDS. So even as I listened to Henry's story and I thought about saying it there, and I thought, okay, well, here you are. My heart just breaks, kind of like for Henry's mom as well. You know, there was a good outcome to it, because they were able to get in, figure out what was wrong with Henry, and make it work. But I think about it every day, about you, brother, and about my brother, and about losing a child must be something that I can't even begin to imagine. You know, like for me, you go, okay, well, you were tooling along and all of a sudden they found a golf ball sized brain tumor. And for me, hey, Wayne, do me a favor. Can you pull up Henry, please? I keep trying to get in there. You pull up Henry for me, please. I think about it all the time. And then for me, it's like, oh, you got a brain tumor. Your life was moving along. Everything was good, you know, blah, 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 blah. But for Henry's mom, and then for you and your wife, I can't even imagine what that must be like. I think about it a lot, brother, to tell you. I really do. Henry, what say you?
Well, you mentioned SIDS, and I spent 5 years in my corporate career working at the Sudden Infant Death Syndrome Center in New Jersey that was based in the Hackensack University Medical Center. And working with those families, closely. So I was in charge of, and that's where I got the graphic design skills from. It was just coincidentally, I was working in the SID Center, and I had a really great, rewarding position. It was sad, but it was rewarding. So I was the special events director. So I was in charge of fundraising, and then I would take that money and actually be able to spend it on events to bring all the families in the state of New Jersey that lost a baby to SIDS together for support. So when I would work with these families one-on-one, it was, like you mentioned, you cannot even fathom the, and I would never, ever say, I know how you feel, or I could imagine this could be tough, or blah, blah. Those words never even came out of my mouth, because I wouldn't know in 1,000 years what that felt like until it happened to me. Right. The one thing that I saw that was so beautiful is those people getting together, those families getting together and embracing each other. And that was one of the things that I thought, why can't we do this in the entrepreneurial world? And that's sort of where I'm heading with my business, and the reason why I'm doing things so transparently these days, because I want to bring entrepreneurs together. I want to bring coaches together with the people that they want to serve, to help forward their mission, to help this world be a better place. And if I can do that while I'm still here ticking, then it's all worth it to me. Because when I'm gone, I just want people to be like, that Henry dude, that like, he was the one that made me go. Like,
well, it's worked for me tonight already, Henry, because when you said that, I think it was Patricia last evening had said, maybe the night before, she watched, I think it was Will Smith bungee into the Grand Canyon. When you talk about fear, and I think you said you were watching something the night before the show, and the guy goes, whenever there's something to be afraid of, I just run to it. As the next New York cop, you could always tell the guys, and from the military, in case of military people listening, that run towards the gunfire. Just most people cower. They're mental ones of us that run towards the gunfire, right? Because we know what it takes to mix it up. And I think that's what you're saying. And I think it's so important what you're doing and what Lee is doing, if you don't mind me saying, because I think the future is going to belong to people that have the mindset that you're teaching people tonight.
1,000%.
The future is not going to be nice to the timid.
No.
Henry, what say you?
No, and to the fake. So you're going to be found out eventually. And people are always going to crave human to human activity. That's always going to be. I mean, I'm a firm believer in that. I'm not worrying about robots taking us out or any of that nonsense. I just want people to live the life that they envision to live. If you told me 10 years ago that I would be doing this stuff that I'm doing today, I would call BS on you. And, I would be probably cursing you out or just making fun of you. Right. And I realized that this journey over the past 12 years of my career, I feel that it's just getting started. I mentioned something in an Instagram post today about, I look at my life and I look at my aging. I'm only 38, but I'm getting older by the minute. And I say, but I look at my life as aging like fine wine. I am better today than I was yesterday. And so I encourage my clients to raise their prices, because that is the only way you're going to scale as a coach or a consultant, doing the one-offs, right? You got to raise your prices. And I'm not going to be the same price today that I am next year, because I'm going to be that much better.
Okay, Henry, can I ask you this, though? So for people that are in the thread that go, okay, I don't have clients, I'm not going to do this and that, what you're saying is, say, okay, raise your price. It really is, have greater amounts of respect for yourself, right? Yeah. Because let's say someone's listening that's never going to be a consultant, right? There's someone's here in the thread. But what you're saying is, the reason that you're able to charge more is you believe more in yourself. You believe more in your service. You believe more in what you're doing to protect humanity in the future. Am I right about that?
The only difference, and I did not make this up, I will credit Tony Robbins for this, but this is what drives me so powerfully. When I went to UPW, Unleash the Power Within in Chicago a couple years ago, he said something that rang my effing bell. He said, the only difference between you and the person standing next to you or your competition is the level of standards that they hold themselves to. That is the only different. And I'm not saying this in a malicious or a condescending way or I'm better than you type of attitude. That's not what I'm saying. I remember a conversation that I had with my uncle when I was first graduating college. It was right after 9/11. Nobody was hiring. And I was going into the hospital to negotiate an entry-level job. And the job paid like $32,000, right? And I was like, I can't live in the state of New Jersey off that salary. Like that's going to be really tough, right? So I go back with my tail between my legs that day after the interview. And I was like, I don't know if this is going to be a good job for me. And now my uncle stuck his neck out and got me in the front door, pulled a couple strings. And I remember my aunt calling me saying, Uncle Joe got the call that you got the interview today. How'd it go? He didn't hear from you. So I said, put him on the phone. And so he gets on the phone and he say, how'd it go? And I said, I don't know, Uncle Joe. They offered me an entry-level position for $32,000. He said, go in there tomorrow and tell him you want 50. And I said, what? And he said, what? You don't think you're worth 50?
Sure.
And I said, okay, I'm going in there for 50. And so I went back the next day and I sat down. I'll never forget it. God rest her soul, Maggie McKenna. I said, the job sounds good, but $32,000 is not going to be there. I was more interested in a salary of $50,000. And she laughed at me. She laughed at me. And she said, what does 42 sound like to you? And I said, done.
Right.
Done. And so, but that taught me, and that when I heard Tony Robbins say that at that event, it brought me back to that day when I was 22 years old talking to my uncle. And my uncle was the one that said, what, you don't think you're worth that? And I was like, no, I'm not. But he made me feel that I was. And that's the empowerment that I want to give my clients when they're out there thinking that they can't land that big client. And I'm saying, yes, you can. You just have to raise your standard because they're not going to hire anybody that they feel is lower than them. So you got to come up to their level or if not higher. And if that means you got to fudge a little bit or talk to yourself in the mirror until it feels comfortable getting those numbers out of your mouth, do that silly stuff because let me tell you something, as funny as it sounds and looks, it works. Because it took me a long time to get the price points out of my mouth that I charge today. And let me tell you something, it's a lot easier to charge what I'm charging today than it was when I was charging medial numbers.
And I think, Henry, my sense is for other people listening to this, that even if you say in a relationship, if you're going for a new job, if you're going to this and that your ability to charge more is directly proportional to your belief in yourself.
1,000%.
So people are in the thread and they're going, oh man, Henry's a sharp guy, but I'm not going to be a consultant to do this and that. Then all Henry's saying, all Lee is saying, and Wayne, thank you so very much. I know Lee and Henry, you can't see this, and I promised I wouldn't keep you very long, but Lee's behind the scenes going, how can we get this 2-shot up? So he's busy working on it. If you see it, you can't see me. Normally you see me, but in any event, thank you, Wayne, for working on it. I think what Henry is saying is that what increases is the belief in yourself, the smile on your face. What increases is the permission you give yourself to put your heart's highest priority, top of your list. Would you say that, Henry? I don't want to put words in your mouth.
If you don't believe in yourself, what makes you think and expect that somebody else will believe in you? So it starts with you. And I think that's why I love this channel and this message. And this is why I was eager to come on this show because I love the vision. I love the message that you're trying to say. So I'm talking in a business platform because I'm so used to talking on that type of platform. But let's bring it into life, right? If you want your if you want your spouse to if you want to look more significant to your spouse, or you want your spouse to love you more, or whatever you want to call it, right?
Right.
You got to love yourself more than they are going to love you. You know, you have to feel it. Otherwise, they're never going to feel it, because again, going back to business, quality will attract quality, but confidence will also attract. Why do we love Tony Robbins so much? Because he's full of brevity, because he's full of charge. He's full of that energy, that powerful energy, the inspiring, the empowering, the transformation. Sure. Like, that's why we love Tony. And so I realized that when you get in these funks, Henry, you got to quickly get out of them, because they're not serving you and they're not serving your audience. They want you to lead, and you can't lead from a point of discomfort, or a point of, I should say discomfort, yes, but you can't lead from a point of lack of confidence or belief in yourself. Can't.
John says here in the thread, realize your value.
I love
You're worth more than you've ever been taught. So a part of it, Henry, is that you're just saying you get better at realizing your value than the people around you get better at realizing your value, right? Because we're talking apples to apples.
Right. And but you have to believe in that. Like,
yes,
you're not just going to wake up one day and just because it's tomorrow, you're going to be a better person. You got to put in that work. And I think that's what Tony, and that's what a lot of you guys are all saying. And that's what I'm saying, is you got to put in the work. You know, if I were to calculate the amount of time I spend a week reading, it's probably 20 to 30 hours at a minimum a week that I just read. And I feel like I just feel myself getting better. And that's and so you have to do those things. And one of the things that my coach tells me to do is you got to make it a habit.
Okay.
You got to make it a habit. So if there's something that you want to change in your life, you have to make it a habit. Otherwise, it's not going to happen. So say you have a bad habit in your life, right? One of the things that I learned from some of the bigger guys out there was, if you have a bad habit like smoking, I'll use that for an example, right? If you try to quit and not replace it with another habit, a better habit, a positive habit, you're going to lose. So you have to get in the habit of making habits, positive, great habits. So for me, it's reading. For me, it's turning business off once I leave this office and I go to meet with my son and my family and my wife. You know, sometimes that's hard. I'm not going to say that I'm a pro at it yet, but I will tell you that when you make it a habit, your life changes. And so just get consistent with it. And same with, like, again, consistency will change your life on all levels, whether it's how many times you post a day on social media, how many times you say, I love you to your spouse, how many times you do the right thing for somebody. Maybe you open up the door for somebody that's in front of you, or you just, like, we came back from Florida the other day and there was an older man standing there with a Vietnam veteran's hat on. You know, I almost, like, every time I see those guys, I like, ooh, you know what I mean? And so I just, out of nowhere, something compelled me to just go up to him and say, thank you for your service.
Sure.
You know, when you make those types of habits in your life changes.
It does.
So anyway, went on a little rant there. But
no, that's okay. No, we appreciate it. Lee, let me ask you quickly. Only because I want to be respectful to both of your times. I said I promised I wouldn't hold you, but I don't want to run the risk of getting away, Lee, without thank you for sharing that story, because that's a big deal as well for you and for your wife and some of the. I thank you for sharing that with us, because I think, as we've said before and it's said here in the thread, the things that are the most trying for us dictate who we are. And I think knowing you as a gentleman, knowing you as a spouse, knowing you as a friend, Henry, you should know Jamie says, rant on, brother. I may have paraphrased the brother at the end, but she says, rant on. Lee, thank you so much for sharing your story. Final words tonight before we get ready to let you go.
Wow. We really made some great points here. You know, Henry, that's one thing I've always loved, your passion, your drive for what you do, and the bigger picture of what you do. It's absolutely fantastic to see that, especially since there's a lot of people in this industry, as you and I both know, that are just all about turning hours into dollars as quickly and efficiently as possible without really caring where the end user ends up, whether they get anything out of it or not. So, I mean, I appreciate your commitment to that. Brian, likewise, I appreciate your commitment to helping people bring their bold and to never be owned.
Never be owned. Right? Here's the thing, to be honest with you, Lee, I just don't know any better, right? I just, Bri, how long have you been enlightened? I go, what? I didn't say anything negative about you. How are you to come up here and call me enlightened? Right? I just don't know any better. So, but Lee, thank you for everything. Thank you. You should know Henry Lee is, and the good folks at Sales Copy Academy are the official sponsors, the time sponsors. Because let me just show you real quickly if I can. I don't want to run the risk of ruining your audio, so I'll just show this. Oh, the clock's run down. You can't. There's no teaching me anything. In any event, you should know that Lee and the good folks at Sales Copy Academy are the official timekeepers of the show here. And not too long ago, about a month ago, we did a 24-hour marathon. And I'll tell you quickly, the story was I went to a local organization and asked them to teach me how to be in radio, how to work a board, how to do this, that. And it was a local Christian station. And I thought a really nice letter. I went to see them. I called them. I'll shovel your sidewalk. I'll cut the grass. I don't know anything about working on motor vehicles, so you probably don't want me in the motor pool. But I'll do whatever. I'll barter whatever I can. Well, it's a Christian radio station, so basically it turned out to be kumbaya for everybody but me. Never returned my call. Never returned. So, as you would, Henry, now that I can say that I know you, as you would, you go, all right. You're not going to teach me how to work on the radio. I'll go after the Guinness World Record for the longest nonstop call-in radio broadcast. And it'll be this December. It's called 81 to Win. And people go, why are you doing that? Because I'm obnoxious. Right? Well, you say to me, I can't be bothered to teach you what. The first time someone said gain to me, I thought they were talking about a laundry detergent. Well, I didn't know what that meant on the board. So these people, they can't help me. So I'm going to make them. I'm going to get my picture taken for the 81 hours in front of that radio station. I love it. 104.7 The River. If you're ever here in Columbus, it's the radio station not to listen to, because I'm not supposed to say 104.7 The River. So, Henry, if you would, closing thoughts. And I'm sorry, brother, for keeping you an extra 15 minutes, but everyone in the thread has just been digging it. Fabulous and very enlightening discussion. Thank you, and please keep on keeping on. Jamie says, thank you, Brian, Lee, and Henry. John says, an investment in knowledge pays the best interest, from Benjamin Franklin. I think he's probably talking about, Henry, all the reading that you and Lee and I do every week. But final thoughts before we let you get to your family.
I always say when I part on these podcasts and these radio shows and these video shows is I want you to remember three things. If you remember anything from me, I want you to remember these three things. One is to know your worth and never let anybody tell you different.
Amen.
Don't take shit from anybody. And they're going to judge you whether you do it or not. So you might as well just do it.
Brother, thank you very much. I so appreciate your passion. You're absolutely right. I call it never be owned.
That's it.
Just never let anyone, anything, yourself included, never be owned. All right, so I'm going to do this. I also want to say, don't forget, Unique Designs. Unique, and it's spelled DESIGNZ.net. Stop on over and see Henry, if you would. And then also don't forget salescopyacademy.com, Lee. But just so you both can see it, so you know Wayne was busy working behind the scenes. Don't know if any audio works, but let me do this. Because Lee's just already shaking his head going.
Wayne's just killing it.
Yeah, watch this. Now, see, this is what I want you to realize how professional this show could have been, right? It wasn't, but damn, it could have been professional, and that's what it would have looked like. What do you want? I got a brain tumor. What do you want from me? All right, brothers. Thank you, gentlemen. As Candace says, nice to meet you, Henry. Nice to see you, Lee.
Hey,
great show, Brian. Great stuff. Thank you all so very much. I super appreciate it.
We'll have to do this again sometime.
I look forward to it. I hope you both will come back. Thanks so
thanks,
much.
guys.
All right, guys. Now, just a little note here on the side. We'll leave Lee and Henry to kibitz amongst themselves for just a minute. Tomorrow morning, 8:30, I go back into the big drawer. The big sound's working for both. Look at that. Well, then let's take it off of me and put it back on the boys. If we know that the sound's working there, hold the show. Yeah, that's right. That's right. This isn't some rinky-dink operation here. So I go over here. Hey, it's like cribbage. It's like playing a board game. Like you think I can pay attention to what I'm actually doing. All right. So now the audio works great. But we're probably going to take a break tomorrow night. You know, brain surgery and whatnot. People ask me all the time, oh, so what are you, a brain surgeon? Yeah, well, you could say that. All right. So we may not be here tomorrow night. We may have to take a break for a couple days, depending upon what the good folks at the Columbus Cranium Shack have to say about my condition. But thank you all for all the emails, all the tweets, all the calls, all the letters. It's just, it truly does mean the world to me, given everything that we're trying to do here and the things, little things compared to other people, the little things I'm up against. But thank you so very much for making us the #1 show here on the IPM Nation platform. Thank you again to Henry and to Lee for joining us this evening. Please make sure you check out their websites. I'll put their websites right here in the feed if you want to get a chance to check them out afterwards. Gentlemen, thank you so very much. Thank you for joining us here at All Natural Being, and I hope to see you pretty soon. All right, farewell.
IPMNation.com.